Want to go far in business and in life? You can't do it alone. The secret is expanding your network of personal relationships, building friendships, connecting on an intimate level, away from the office, over a coffee or cocktail. Welcome to All In with the real Nate Payo. The show that asks what happens when you go all in and leverage the power of your network of personal relationships.
From author Donnie Bovine comes the book, How to Be a Success Champion, available on Amazon. After years of living other people's dreams, author Donnie Bovine decided to jump out on his own and start a business, thinking it would be easy. Instead, he had a rude awakening and quickly understood that he had spent 20 years being an employee and had no idea how to be a business owner. His business was tanking, and he was on the brink of losing everything when he decided to fight for business freedom. In this must-read and life-changing book, author Donnie Bovine shares with readers his story intermingled with lessons learned from his mistakes and his failures. In How to Be a Success Champion, you will find advice the author received from mentors and how he went from zero to a six-figure business. The author walks you through the steps of how to get out of your own way, how to play the game of business and win, find your strengths, how to network effectively, how to build a personal brand, how to create champions for your business, how to get great at sales, how to take complete ownership of you and your business. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback editions. Order your copy right now. It makes a great book for corporate events too. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon.
Hello. Welcome to the All In podcast with Nate Payo. Of course, I am your host, Nate Payo. Today, my guest is Courtney Johnson. She's a social and digital media expert and entrepreneur. She's the founder of CUJOcreative and MYSOLMAT. Welcome to the show, Courtney. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So I always like to tell the audience a little bit about how I connected with the guest. And in your case, social media expert, digital media expert is not a joke. You are very, very an expert in that field. And I saw you on LinkedIn, and I probably connected with you a few months ago, maybe, and then just been watching your posts, and you're garnering a lot of attention. You're always well spoken, and all your posts are very engaging. And then you started talking about, some of your businesses that you're creating, the MYSOLMAT and the CUJOcreative. And I was like, hey, I want to reach out and find out what you're up to. So, what kind of got you going with the MYSOLMAT and the CUJOcreative?
Yeah, well, MYSOLMAT was started about a year ago. Basically, I could not find a yoga mat that I liked. And I never thought I would be in the fitness industry or even creating a product. But I've always heard the business advice of, if you're looking for a product and it doesn't exist in the market, it's your responsibility to create it. So I thought, all right, this is my chance to try something I've never done before and create a product. So I couldn't find a mat that really reflected my personality or acted as like a fashion accessory and was fun and bright and bold, patterns and colors. And so I designed them all myself, did the initial run, launched about 6 months after I created the company. And so we've been selling products for about 6 months, and it's been just wildly successful seeing the response of this. And then CUJOcreative. So I have been in social and digital media for the last 10 years. Always thought, I could offer a lot better services to my clients at cheaper prices without having this overhead of working for somebody else. And I never really was able to take that leap and actually quit my stable job in order to do that. But, during COVID, everything was changing. My friends were losing jobs, changing jobs, just all of the change in the world really made me reflect and think about what I wanted to change. And it was really a now or never moment that if I wanted to continue feeling really good about my work, I would have to go out on my own.
Mm-hmm. I like how you brought up like the fact of if there's a product out in the market that you need, like, and you can't find it, like, it's your responsibility to create it. Like, how often do we sit there and go, oh, wouldn't it be great if I, had this problem solved? And we're like, gosh, but I never want to take the steps forward to create a business. Or on the flip side, you're like, hey, I want to start a business, but like, I don't have any ideas of like what to do. And you just start, if you start looking at the things that you're interested in, I mean, I'm going to go on out on a limb here and say, you probably have some interest in yoga, or you wouldn't have gone into like yoga mats. So you start looking at things that you have interest in, you start looking at things you have passion in, and you go, what is missing from this? And anytime you're solving problems, I would say, hey, building a network of people isn't about the connection between me and you. It's more of a connection of how you can help people within your network. And if you can solve a lot of problems, your value is going to be rewarded. And the more problems you can solve, the more value you're going to have. And growing a bigger network isn't so much about like how much you can do, but you're able to have more people that you can call upon to solve problems. So I think that is an answer that's very important. If you see a problem, see if you can find a solution. And if it's out there, you do have some responsibility to create it. And when you start taking steps down, I'm sure it wasn't easy for you to like, figure it out.
But the Cujo creative side of it was similar to where I focused on solving a problem. A lot of companies didn't have access to really strong social media management on the company side, on the personal brand side, without fronting $10,000, $20,000. And I knew that was possible for that to be accessible, but it was just hard to find. So that's in solving a problem too. And really in both of these companies, I just focused on filling the gap and solving the problem. And that made the passion behind it so much easier because people were refreshed by seeing these things, not exhausted because, oh my gosh, there's another one of these in the market and I keep seeing these all the time.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I was interested about what you're doing is you're promoting yourself. I guess you're doing three things when I see you on social media. You're doing the Courtney Johnson personal branding, you have the CUJOcreative, and you have the MYSOLMAT. But I think a lot of people struggle, like if I say I'm one thing, how do I associate myself with another? And you might say like a yoga mat business and social media consulting is two completely separate businesses, completely different mindsets, completely different things. So how do you reconcile and encourage others to reconcile, like, hey, you can be multiple things and that's all part of the brand of you?
Yeah, I've got a lot of feedback of people saying, Courtney, you're trying to do too many things, maybe narrow it down, like find your niche. But with my role in MYSOLMAT and CUJOcreative and my personal brand is on the content side, on the marketing side, on relationship building. It's really all encompassing of marketing and creative. So if I don't have a like official title at all of these places, but if I were, it would probably be something along the lines of like Chief Creative Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, and that's the type of content I put out. That's what I focus on in those. So I do have this streamline of talking. Like I'm not talking about sourcing materials and finance with MYSOLMAT. That's not the content I'm putting out because that's not my expertise. I have help on that. But when it comes to things that I am confident in my ability to share, like that's what's streamlined across all of this value that I'm given and all of this, these companies.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good example to show that you can be multifaceted. Everybody's got multiple dimensions to themselves, and it makes it relatable. If I was, looking for maybe a social media person, and I had like an interest in yoga, that might be the thing that it differentiates you enough that I relate to and says, hey, like that's the one I want to hire because she's going to get my mission and my values. And, I think it's important that you do share multiple aspects of your personality on social media because you never know where you're going to relate to somebody with your message.
Definitely. I've gotten so many connections that have said, hey, I need help on social media and we're doing gift bags and we need 100 custom yogas or yoga mats for this retreat we're doing with my company. Can you help out? Or, hey, can you give us some feedback on our new branding? And this other company I have as a retail fitness and we need yoga mats. There's so many people that have wanted to make connections on both sides of my businesses, which is just crazy.
It does. So that kind of leads me to my next question, which is this idea around luck. And some people might say, like, you got lucky, or luck plays a lot of part in this, but what would be your take on luck in your life?
I love this question. There's a few different aspects of this. One, luck is real, but you have to create your own luck by creating multiple opportunities for luck. So how to do that? Constantly be connecting with people, constantly, trying new things, going to new places, putting yourself in risky situations, not risky like bad, but uncomfortable situations where you're going to go up and talk to someone at a networking event, or you're going to reach out to someone who, you've admired for a long time. You have to constantly put yourself in those positions to garner luck. And then you have to be prepared for luck too. You can get in a lot of lucky situations where maybe you see someone, at an event that you want to talk to, that it's your dream to work with them. But if you're not prepared, if you don't have the skills, if you haven't taken that action over the course of your entire life, you're not going to be prepared for that luck to fulfill. I feel like luck has played a really big role in my career because when I was graduating college, social media wasn't even being taken seriously yet by companies. They weren't really thinking about it, and they couldn't find anybody with 10, 20 years of social media experience because social media had only been around for a couple of years. So they could only hire people with a couple of years of experience. And so they were hiring kids out of college to run social media departments. So I got really lucky in starting my career in this industry. However, if I was not prepared by the hard work and the research and the learning and working for free that I did for all those years before I started to get hired, then I wouldn't have been prepared for that luck of, falling into this industry at the right time.
Yeah. So you talked about a few things here since the conversation started that I think I want to point out, I think is really key factors, is you talk about putting yourself in risky situations or being in places where luck's going to occur. And that to me is a big thing. Like if you just sit at home waiting for life to happen, it's not going to show up at your door with opportunities. You have to start kind of going into a place where these situations are going to present themselves. And the part you mentioned was being aware of the opportunities, which goes back to this idea of like, hey, if you're in this mindset of like, hey, there's a problem and it needs solving, I wish somebody would solve it. And you said before, hey, it's your responsibility to do that. How many times have me personally, I'm asking myself this, like there's been a ton of times personally where I've gone, hey, wouldn't this be a great idea? And then you never did anything about it. And somebody else did. They took it apart. So you're talking like, hey, you're in the situations to see a problem. Now you got to act on the problem. And then when you act on the problem, it takes off. And that's why I thought was important is that you've seen these problems and you're also being aware that I could take action on it and not just going, hey, and then wait for somebody else. And then somebody else does it. And you're going, hey, I had that idea. I could have done it. And other people say, oh, they got lucky. They had the right idea, right place at the right time. But it's about creating the right places and the right time for yourself.
Definitely. Sarah Blakely always says everybody in their lifetime has had $1 million idea, but very few people have ever acted on it. So it's the next step of taking action. And I know that can sound intimidating, but the key is to just leverage your resources, reach out to people, have random conversations of, you would be so surprised how many people will just sit down and have a 30-minute conversation with you for free about sourcing materials or about shipping costs or about literally anything you want. I leveraged that a lot in the beginning, even people to do like bartered work for me where I would help their company with some free social media hours and they would in turn help me with some of the areas that I'm not so good at.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you say that because like when you have an idea and you start going down this path, you're like, how do I figure this out? And then like what you think you realize you don't know so much about, and other things you think are going to be challenges turn out to be not so easy. So, I'm sure you've had some failures along the way, and maybe I'm prepping you for the question because you've talked about this in social media about a large public failure that probably set you up for a learning experience to overcome some things. Can you talk about your failures in life and what you've learned from them?
Yeah. So I actually had a pretty big failure in front of literally millions of people. If you've ever seen the show Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders Making the Team on CMT, I was on seasons 9 and 10. Season 10, I was one of the main characters through my journey. It was like a dream of mine for my whole life. I grew up a cheerleader, dancer. Ended up getting to the very end of the show, last episode, like going into preseason, and I was the last one cut. It was hard being so public and, thousands of people reaching out to me, either saying like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, or I feel so bad for you. And that's when I realized, why do you feel sorry for me? Why do you feel bad for me? I did something that nobody else can do. Like, I did something that was I accomplished something huge by being in one of the top, 36 dancers, cheerleaders in America, and the connections I made there and the skills that I learned, and seeing how a TV show is produced and getting professional media training from one of the biggest sports organizations in the world, and being connected to all of these people that have helped me throughout my career. Why do you feel sorry for me? And I kind of just realized I needed to reframe how I'm thinking about failure, because this is a positive thing. And my goal could have been lower and I would have accomplished that. My goal was as high as it could be, and I got close. So really, if you're not failing, you're truly not aiming high enough. And if you're not failing, you're not taking enough risks.
Mm-hmm. I love that you talk about, people are going, oh, I feel so bad you failed at your goal. And I'm air quoting it, if for the people listed, is this idea of that's it, that your story is over, and you're very young, you're in your 20s, I'm sure. And you say, well, like, how, like, I'm sure in the moment, not making the team and that being a big dream of yours is hard, it's challenging, but like, what are you going to do? Like, go sit in your room and cry the rest of your life and never like go on? It's a moment in time. You talk about these opportunities that you had that you wouldn't have had otherwise, which are amazing, which are able to leverage and come back and do a million other things. So, you don't probably want to be that high school quarterback that scored 4 touchdowns and their senior game, and then that's the highlight of their life. It's like, hey, this is stepping stones and launching points to be constantly pursuing yourself. And you got to feel invincible almost. Like, how could you, like, you go, hey, I failed in front of millions of people publicly. Like, what could be bigger than that? Like how are you gonna like top that failure? It's hard to imagine like what you're up against to think like, hey, I can do about anything now.
Yeah, exactly. And the net, it's all about the net positive. The reward was bigger than the risk, and that reward was essentially launching my career and giving me connections to all of these executive professionals in Dallas, where I started my career, that I would not have had otherwise. And that it was net positive. I mean, hugely net positive. So I try to encourage other people to take big risks, whether that's applying for a job that maybe you don't have 10 out of 10 qualifications for, you have like 6 out of 10, but you can do it. Or whether it's, again, reaching out to somebody that you're afraid to talk to, or whether it's launching a business. Those risks are so important in your growth, and identifying the failure, but knowing that the reward is greater than the risk is so important.
It is. So, that kind of leads me to my next question, which is, it relates to risk. What I call all in is, you're at a stepping stone in your life and you're saying, am I going to go all in or something, or am I not? What does all in on an idea or an outcome mean to you?
Yeah, all in means that you're creating the space for opportunities in your life. How this kind of played out in my life over the last few months is I had a really strong, stable, well-paying, great benefits consulting job. And I had to risk leaving that in order to pursue MYSOLMAT and CUJOcreative and my personal brand, because I just didn't have the space, the energy, the thought space in my life to really do that 100%. So when I left, the opportunities that came, just because I had more time to talk to people, more people were reaching out to me, excited for me. I mean, the first 2 weeks of being on my own were just absolutely incredible. And more opportunities came out of that than could have ever happened in my just like few hours of working on my side hustle, like turning that into my full-time gig. that's when things really started to take off. So I think going all in means taking risks, and it means creating space in your life and both your energy and your mindset for those opportunities to come. And that's kind of where luck comes in too. When you have that space, you're presenting to your life and your connections and your network more opportunities for luck.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you say this risk that you wouldn't have had time to do it like as a side hustle. So you took the risk, launched it off. You left a stable job, and benefits are hugely important. A lot of people have that, and like for me, when you play it safe, sometimes you're making your risks in the future down the road. So if you go down this path of, hey, it's safer to take these risks of it's safer than taking the risk of going off and start my own, but instead I'll keep a safe job, I'll keep my insurance, I'll keep my benefits, and I'll go down this path. And then you start feeling unfulfilled. And then there's the Courtney that makes that decision, and then there's the Courtney that goes off and she starts her own. And in 10 years from now, you look and you see, oh my God, like Courtney's got the life of her own business. She's very successful. She's creating her own range. She's doing her own thing on her own terms. And the Courtney that played it safe all of a sudden goes, man, I wish I had taken that chance 10 years ago, because now today I've got more responsibilities, I got more obligations, and it's harder to take that risk now. Like you've increased your risk because you got obligations that you can't leave and go make. So then all of a sudden you're stuck in this place like, I wish I could have done, I should have done. That's not to say like it's never too late to make that pivot. I think you still can, but if you have this idea like, hey, why not go after it early, take that risk? What do you got to lose? And then see where it takes you. Because I think if you play it too safe, you're going to wake up with a lot of regret and wishing you had done something. That'd be my take on it.
Yeah, I would much rather live with failure than regret.
It's weird. Most people, probably would say like failure is devastating. It sucks. But, I think once you start failing, often you find it's not so bad. It's more like a continual learning. Like as long as like you're like the idea of like, hey, your story's not written until you're dead. Like it's maybe a bit morbid, but you could have failure, but it's always learning. As long as you're willing to get up and keep pushing forward, like you haven't completely failed until you've ran out of time. So it's definitely failure is something to be embraced and to challenge yourself. I would encourage it, just like you've encouraged others to do the same. So let's talk a little bit about the users of MYSOLMAT. Who is your ideal customer? Who reaches out and says, that's the mat I need to reach out and get?
Yeah, so our customers typically tend to be in their 20s and 30s, about 60% female, 40% male. The persona that I paint is exactly how I do yoga. Friends kind of going to yoga in the morning, then going to brunch after to get mimosas, super casual, maybe just want to get a good workout in, but also want to, hang out with their friends, people that do yoga that are kind of introing to their beginning yoga, to where they're a little intimidated by the spiritual side and the meditation and the breathing. They kind of just want to get a good stretch and workout, and all of those benefits come after, but that's not necessarily why they're starting. It's a little intimidating. So, they're starting out as casual yogis. They want something that reflects their personality and is a little less yogi, more fun. And then they start yoga for the physical benefits, for stretching, and the mindfulness comes afterwards as an after effect, since they don't start because of that, because it's a little intimidating. You'd be surprised how many people fit that exact persona, but it's similar to working out. And, sometimes brands can be really intimidating in the fitness space, to where people don't want to engage with them because they don't feel like they can meet that. So this is meant to be a lot more relatable, a lot more down to earth.
What I like about that relatableness is like my experience with fitness in general is, if I go and I build a community of people then I want to go back. So if I have friends at the gym that I see regularly that inspire me to keep coming back, I have a lot of success. If I feel unwelcome, not necessarily unwelcome, but uncomfortable, intimidated, it feels like then I lose interest. I stop coming. So when I started going to hot yoga, it was kind of intimidating because one, it's hot yoga, so it's like a step above the regular yoga. But then you go into the room where they're going to host it, and you get there, a few minutes early, and everybody's like sitting on their mat, maybe laying down, maybe like doing some meditation. It's all quiet, and you're a little intimidated, and then you do the class, and then everybody packs up their stuff and leaves, and you go like, how do you make kind of friends and like it's very like you said, it's like very yogi-y. Yogi, is that a word? Yogi-y? But like it's serious business. But if you had a yoga mat with watermelons on it, then you go, hey, that's a cool mat. Like it's an icebreaker. And then when you have something to, like, if somebody asks you about you're chatting with them, or you see somebody else's, it's like it brings out a fun spirit that just is kind of like the catalyst for a conversation, a catalyst for making friendships, which makes you want to come to yoga again, and then go have that mimosa, that brunch. Now you're like, hey, the girl with the fun mat, I'm going to see if she wants to go grab coffee after this. And then before you know it, you're inspiring friendship. So I think there's a lot to be said. It's not just a mat, it's MySolMat. So love what you're doing. I like how you've identified who your user is. And I think there's a lot of benefit in grabbing a fun mat that showcases your personality. It doesn't all have to be all serious all the time, right?
Absolutely. And you're right. If you walk into a yoga class with a MySolMat, oh my gosh, people will be, where did you get that? Is that an avocado? Is that a cactus on your mat? Wait, that's so cool. I want to see. I mean, it really is an icebreaker. And again, in these yoga classes, everything is very much the same. Everyone's on like black or blue mats, just kind of to themselves. You whip out a hot pink mat with watermelons on it, people are going to be like, wait, what? Who is that? What is that?
Who's the crazy one that's in here?
Exactly.
Cool. So if somebody wants to find you, they want to get connected to, get one of these yoga mats, talk with you about social media, where should they go to find you?
Yeah, so if they want to get a yoga mat, they can find us on social or our website, which is MySolMat, MYSOL.com. My LinkedIn is Courtney Johnson. I post on social and digital media content every day, as well as on Instagram at CUJOcreative.
Awesome. I encourage you to go check Courtney out. Definitely connect with her on LinkedIn. She's always posting awesome knowledge. You can just follow her profile for like a week and just go, how can I just replicate this for myself? And I think you're going to see her LinkedIn profile just take off too. But definitely reach out to her, connect with her, say hi, tell her where you found her, and check out the yoga mats. Check out our CUJOcreative as well. Thank you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks so much.
Make sure to visit our website, therealnatepeo.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, so you'll never miss an episode of All In. While you're at it, if you found value, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if simply tell 2 friends about the show. Looking to connect? You can find Nate Peo on LinkedIn or Instagram.